Okay, we're in Shmuel Aleph, Perek Tes, Pasuk Daled, and we started to be introduced a little bit to the future king of the Jewish people, Shul HaMelech. We're told that he came from very illustrious descendants, and he himself was a person with tremendous character traits, strength, and physical beauty. And the journey to provide us with the rendezvous between Shul and Shmuel began yesterday when Shul's father Kish lost Sonos. He lost female donkeys. And the first step of the Hashgacha Pratis, the divine supervision of God, was to have, first of all, that they weren't lost normally, but rather misplaced, which causes Shul to go on a fruitless journey. And second of all, the fact that Kish sent his son to go and not his just the servant alone. Which, thinking about this, it's very interesting. At the end of the day, Shul was sent on a wild goose chase. And probably we could say, to a certain degree, to a certain level of lack of thorough care that his father did not provide. He misplaced it. It was the father's fault. It wasn't not the animals really got lost. They really weren't lost, Malbim says. He just thought they were lost. And he sends his son. And you can imagine. So if you think about it, Shul really was sent for something that would not have accomplished the goal he was sent for. And not only that, but it wasn't only he was sent, but he probably felt, why should I be sent? It's beneath my dignity. So I think that's a very important lesson for many of us, because a lot of times, we always feel, well, I hope I accomplished my goal and what I'm trying to achieve. A lot of times, what you're planning on accomplishing, it never is going to be, but it's there to get something else that Hashem wanted you to get to, that you would never have thought of getting yourself. The goal was Hashem wanted Shul to meet Shmuel. Finished. That was the goal. The goal was for him to be coronated as king, right? And for him to realize that he would be the king of the Jewish people. That's what this chapter is all about. So, for someone to be the king, so we're going to see a lot of things here. But the first step is, you have to show good midos. And the fact that the father, you can imagine if he was a typical teenager, and the father would say, "Can you look for my donkeys?" He says, "Send the servant." Why send me? Well, the answer is because your father asked you, and that's why you go. Plain old-fashioned kibbut of aim. Even though, as the Malbim says, it really wasn't to his covet, for Shul's covet to do that. And at the end of the day, had he not said that, he wouldn't have met Shmuel. And that probably would have made him not be the person who would have been picked as the king of the Jewish people. Hashem makes plans, as we'll see shortly. Hashem tells Shmuel that, the new king will come to you tomorrow. So he's got to come to you tomorrow. It's got to be that way. And Hashem will cause anything to happen, even though not necessary things at all, to bring that into being. So I think that's an important point, that a lot of times we'll be sent somewhere and it ends up being a wild goose chase, but you have to believe that there was something else that you were meant to accomplish. If it was merely just to show that you honor your father, if you'd all said, "I know my father told me to do this. There was no donkey there anyway." The answer is, you know what? You did a mitzvah of kibbut of aim, regardless. That's all. Maybe you needed more of that. Finished. And people feel, no, unless I can understand why I have to go, and if my parents' request makes sense to me, then after I think about it a long time and take a nap and do a number of other important things that I have to do, then I'll consider if I should maybe do what my parents say. You see, Shul Melech was not that way. That's part of what we said last week. Being a Melech is being in control of all your emotions. So here we see that Shul did fit the bill for that. Okay, that's one idea. Now, there's another idea that has to be introduced by a piece from Rav Tzadok. Specifically, what's the idea of the asonos? What's the idea of the female donkeys? When else did we have a female donkey very notably mentioned in the Torah? With Bilam. when Bilam was sent to curse the Jewish people. And now we're seeing again an Ason playing a critical role. So what would be the connection between those two? I mean, obviously, his father could have lost anything. Could have lost a bull, could have lost a number of things that were living that could lead him to another place. What's the idea specifically in Ason? So, although the Reb Tzadok doesn't talk directly to our Gemara, but you'll see by what he says about an Ason that you'll see that's something we could perhaps relate something here. So you see where I put the arrow, and Reb Tzadok is speaking about the idea that the Mishnah Pirkei Avos says that the mouth of the female donkey was created bein hashmashos during the twilight of the 6 days of creation. And why was that so, and what's the significance of it? As well, he's dealing with a chazal that say that Moshe, Gemara says, Moshe wrote his Sefer and also Parshas Bilam, the Parsha of Bilam, meaning the Parsha of Balak. So the question is, why did the Gemara have to say that? Once Moshe wrote his Sefer, wrote the Chumash, so the story of Bilam and Balak is incorporating everything that was in the Chumash. And the answer basically is that Bilam's Parsha was also Nevi'us. So how could Bilam and Rasha be? This also leads to the next question: how could Bilam and Rasha get such a nevuah? So that's what he's going to address. He says, "V'zeh ha'inyan mashenivra pi ha'ason b'erev Shabbos v'nishmasos." This is the concept of Hashem creating the mouth of the donkey on erev Shabbos at twilight. V'hainu. What was going on exactly? Shenivra as koach zeh shuyuchal lios b'chinas pi Hashem af k'shiyotze mi pi Bilam. Hashem created at that point of time that the ability in creation that there can be an aspect of the voice of Hashem emanating even from the mouth of somebody like Bilam. Okay, in other words, to have Hashem's word go through such a not holy place, it has to be sourced somewhere. It has to be part of creation. Shekoach Bilam haya ha'ikar koicha b'bechinas ason. Because the power of Bilam is primarily the power of the aspect of a donkey, the she donkey, as the Zohar HaKadosh says. V'hainu pi ha'ason shiyuchal liyos hadvorim mi'bechinas pi Hashem af kishiyotzu derech motzos pi Bilam shu pi ason. Meaning to say, the idea that the existential idea of the mouth of the she donkey is that words that are pi Hashem, that are the words of Hashem, even though they go through such a means of the mouth of Bilam, which is like the mouth of a donkey, that can also happen. And that's a big fiddush. Upiha ason mora, what's the mouth of the donkey teach us? Af b'makom she'ena medaber margish klal b'mashe medaber kamo ason. That even though the donkey, he doesn't understand, he doesn't sense what he's talking about at all. Right? We think when the donkey spoke, his brain understood what he was saying. Like when you watched Mr. Ed. No. You know, Mr. Ed has feelings. Wilbur hurt his feelings. So now he's telling Wilbur, you know, you got me upset and this and that. You know, it wasn't like that the donkey's rest of his being was connected to what he was saying. Do you understand? That's not what's going on. The donkey himself didn't even sense what he was saying. God put it in his mouth to say things that the donkey was oblivious to. Okay, well, let's get this straight. A donkey is not capable. It's a big enough miracle that he could talk, right? But he's not capable that, you know, his brain, you know, because he felt a certain way. He was angry at Bilam. Because he was angry at Bilam, he had such certain emotions of he was felt what do you call, double-crossed by his master, and all the words that would appear to have so much feeling behind them. Don't make a mistake and think this donkey had all kinds of feelings connected. We said he understood and he was motivated. That's not, a donkey doesn't do that. It's not capable of any of those higher level thought processes at all. So what was it? It was Hashem saying it straight to Bilam. And he made a miracle that the vocal cords of the donkey produced sounds exactly the way Hashem wanted them to have. Okay, do you understand the point? The donkey didn't realize it was giving the message. That's the idea of Pia Ason. Now that teaches us that there could be prophecies in the future that would be just like that. Where it's possible to have a prophecy from somebody who really isn't connected at all to what he's saying. Doesn't even realize he's saying a prophecy. Moshe Rabbeinu and other prophets, Jewish prophets, prophesied. They knew what they were saying. Hashem says to the prophet, go tell the Jews they're terrible people, they're going to get punished if they don't listen, blah, 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 blah. So the Navi understood the message, and he gave it over with heartfelt feelings, because he felt bad for Hashem, he felt bad for the Jewish people, he knew what he was saying. Right? But there's times when you hear a prophecy, and the prophet is like a donkey. You never know when you're going to meet the next donkey in your life. Where the person is not even understanding the message that they're giving to you, but it is clearly a message from Hashem, and that's you have to be careful to hear. And that's what you see in the Pia Song. So now, what? Oh, so that's the idea. You think a Navi, a typical Navi should be very connected to his prophecy. And don't you see what happened with Bilam? Bilam, what was he paid to do? To curse the Jews. He wanted to curse the Jews. This isn't just a donkey who doesn't have any feelings. Bilam had negative feelings to the Jews. Bedavka wanted a negative prophecy against the Jews. And what did he tell Balak when Balak got upset? He said, I can only say what Hashem makes me say. If anyone was totally disconnected to his prophecies about the Jews, it was Bilam. So it was like Hashem was telling Bilam, you jackass, you. That's exactly what he was saying to him. Words are going to come out of your mouth, and you have no connection to the words that are coming out of your mouth. That was the whole idea. So what's the lesson for us? Obviously, the question is, so what is this whole story with Bilam and the donkey? Like, why'd it have to come that way? So let's continue reading after the underlines. Valdas Mashenemar. This now we can understand. There's a pasuk that says, "Voznecha tishmano dover me'acharecha." Your ears will hear something from behind you. We'll explain this. Lamor says, Zeh haderech lechuba. This is the way you should go. That's the pasuk. So what does that mean? And your ears will hear something from behind you to say this is the way you should go. Ume'acharecha. What does it mean behind you? Hainu afshi yishma minochri. Even if you hear from a non-Jew, she'yadaver davar. If he says something. You have what to learn, something from a non-Jew in terms of your service to Hashem. Because it wasn't for naught that you heard these words came to your ears. A goy can tell you something. What did the goy tell me this for? There's a reason. There's a donkey's mouth everywhere. And keep your ears listening to what you hear from the behind, as it is. And it's very unusual for Rav Tzadok in all his writings, even though Rav Tzadok is a chassid, of course, but the kind of write to bring a chassidish maisa. I mean, he's a chassid, right? He was a born-again chassid. But Rav Tzadok was not born a chassid. He became a chassid because of his different journeys that he had to take in life. So he brings a chassidish maisa, which, Rav Tzadok's stuff is hard stuff. For him to bring a story, he usually doesn't bring, but it's a treat to get one from him. And it's a famous story. They tell the story of Reb Zusha. Once he was going on the way, hey yud is hey that you feed an animal with. That's how he writes it. So what was going on? So Reb Zusha is going on the road, and a goy is on a wagon full of hay. Hay's on the wagon. And he's hap cholaretz. And it fell to the ground. There was a little accident, whatever, and the hay fell off the wagon, and now the guy is stuck having to pick up all the hay. So the non-Jew asked Reb Zusha, can you help me lift up the bundles of hay? Hey, Shivla Rabbi Zusha. Rabbi Zusha answered, Sheini Yochel, I'm not able to. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not able to. Amar la Nachri, the non-Jew says, Tuchal. Able, you are very able. Avol eini roitze, but you don't want. Okay, you can imagine the guy said it angrily and this and that. Amar Latzmo. So when Zusha heard this, he said to himself, Zusha, Shma Mahu Omer. Look what the guy is saying. Right? Hashem Mahu Omer. Hashem Tisa'ah, or rather, Hey Tisa'ah Nafal Aretz. The lower Hey has fallen from the earth. In other words, Hashem's name is Yud Hey Vav Hey. Right? It's Hashem's name. So that last Hey, in other words, that part of the gifts of Hashem that connect to us, that last Hey, all right, fell to the earth. Ubi Yacholti Laharima, and I'd be able to pick it up. Aboleni Reis, but I don't want to. What is he saying? He's saying, Hashem, you gave me a message. In my avodas Hashem, a lot of times in my avodas Hashem, I say I can't do it. He says, don't say you can't. Say you don't want. And if you have to hear it from a non-Jew, then that's the word of Hashem. And that's the word of Hashem. Why would the non-Jew talk to you that way? You have to be careful. That's the mouth of the donkey. That's the mouth of the donkey that's talking to you. Right? And there's countless stories like this. People can become frum by hearing one line like that and not expecting to hear such a line. There was a famous story of a Baal Tshuva who, how did he become a Baal Tshuva? So he was one time late fall, it was early fall afternoon somewhere in LA, and there's a big traffic jam, and he's in a rush to get somewhere, and he's honking his horn. So then a Mexican-American traffic cop comes by, and he turns to the guy and he said, "What are you honking so much for?" He says, I'm in a rush, I got to get somewhere. And the policeman says, "Don't you realize it's the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur, and all the Jews are going to synagogue?" So the guy said to himself, if I have to hear from a Mexican-American traffic cop that it's Yom Kippur, and I didn't even know it's Yom Kippur myself, then boy, if I hit rock bottom. Right? So that's the mouth of the donkey. Do you think the policeman meant it, gave him a rebuke to realize that you're such a distant Jew, you don't know anything about Yom Kippur? But it was the mouth of the donkey speaking. So you have to keep your ears open for the mouth of the donkey. Right? So that's a very important idea. So that's what he's saying. Uba Mishnah, and the Mishnah Pirkei Avos says, Ezel Chacham, who's a wise man, Halomed Mikol Adam, who learns from everybody. Shenemar Mikol Molam Dai Hiskalti, from all my teachers, I got a lot of seichel. Now the question is, if the Mishnah Pirkei Avos is trying to teach us who is a smart man, and he's saying somebody learns from everybody, okay, so you'd figure we just quoted a pasuk a few moments ago. Why did he bring the pasuk up? That your ear should hear things from behind you. Remember we brought that pasuk? So why didn't it bring that pasuk? Why didn't it bring the pasuk from all who teach me I became smart? Gemara brings that other pasuk, that we use it, that we can listen to a baskol and things like that. So what's the answer? But from the wording of the Mishnah that says Shomer Eisel Chacham, who's a Chacham, Halomed, who learns, Muchach, it must be implying, I've got that underlined now, Shekoy al Misha writes a lilmod mimenu, it's going on someone who wants to learn from him, and someone intended on teaching him. In other words, the Mishnah is speaking, who is a wise man? A wise man who goes to people who want to teach, and you want to learn. So okay, so that's Halomed Mikodam. You learn from every person. We say you learn. There's a teaching process going on. Somebody's teaching, and you're willing to learn. Right? Amar Mikol Adam. Therefore, it says Mikol Adam, from every Adam. Hainu atem kriyim Adam, because you are called Adam. That's when usually it says an Adam. So, even though we have a Gemara that says, there's another Gemara that says, if the rabbi, if the teacher is like an angel, then you should seek Torah from him, and if not, not. So then the Gemara asked, how could Rabbi Meir learn from Acher, who's not such a great man, right? There's an answer next column. That's a great person able to do this. So, but you see, there's an aspect, there's got to be somebody teaching, somebody wanting to teach, someone wanting to learn. That's what the Mishnah means. Who's a chacham? A man who learns from everybody. The gadol, a great person like Rabbi Meir, could learn from everybody. And therefore, maybe a pasuk, Mikol melamdai hiskalti. From all my teachers I learned. Shemechuven lelamdo, that somebody wants to teach me, so hiskalti, I became smart. Even if he's not like a great angel. I still became smart. So Mishnah Bergervis is teaching us that who's a smart man, a wise man, who learns from everyone who wants to teach him. There's a teacher, he's giving information, wants information, and you learn from everybody. Even the guy's not so good, but if he wants to teach you a lesson of life, then you should learn it from him. So that's why we brought that pasuk. But the pasuk over here, listen to something from behind you. Meaning to say, I got it underlined now. Even to a non-Jew who just has his own intention of why he's talking, and he's not planning on teaching you, still, therefore you should still listen to him. And that's the end of the pasuk, saying that's the way you should go. That's really the idea of what a baskol is all about. A baskol really doesn't plan on teaching you, but you hear the message and you follow up on that. As we find in Yerushalmi, maybe Kama Maisya, there bring many stories. Sheshama Baskol Manoshim, Shalo Hiskav Narak Lechavanas Diburim Veim Lomdom Izel Yonum. That people were the Baskol, people were just saying things they didn't intend on teaching, and they learned great things. And they bring that pasuk as well. And finally, the underline again. Zeo Perish Pia Asin Shtivra. That's what it means. The Pia Asin was created Bein Hashmashas. Shnivra Koich Zeh Shebe Pia Ason Gam Ken Yochel Yis Dvar Hashem. That from the mouth of the donkey can also come the words of Hashem. Okay, so there's more, but that's really much more than what we need to come from here. So that's the idea. All right. So what does it have to do with our? 1 second. So this is where Bilam, same idea. Bilam has a lot of things to say about the Jewish people that we could learn from, even though that was the last thing on his mind. So there's really two messages you can learn from this. Number one, we see that something that's the donkey represents the mode. Why does Hashem do this through a donkey? Why didn't he do it from another animal? Because what does the donkey represent? The donkey represents the most materialistic animal in the world, because an ason really is just a female chamor. Chamor, from the word chomer, so materialistic. Even from the most materialistic source, the least spiritual source, can come the word of Hashem from such a place. So too with Bilam, which is the least holy person in the world. You can still find prophecy. And so you could say, so now this is Shmuel's career, this is Shaul's career. So you could say, and also from the most unexpected places you can find prophecy. So what we will find a little bit later, not too far, we're going to find that among many of the things that Shaul does after he's told that he's a king, he's going to become a king, he takes a detour to hang around to a prophet school. And all of a sudden, like in one easy lesson, he is prophesizing. And they say, and the statement, the coined phrase from that time is, oh, so you're amongst the prophets too, like Shaul? Where does Shaul come to be amongst the prophets? In other words, he's being hinted to that there's donkeys. The word of Hashem can come from a donkey, from unexpected places. And Shmuel and Shaul, you're going to have that same experience. Usually in prophecy school you have to practice for years and years and work on yourself and have intention to be a prophet. That was what Shmuel introduced to the Jewish people, the idea of prophet schools. Right? So, and Shaul didn't go to a prophet school. He just walks by a prophet school, sits in on a class, and all of a sudden he's prophesizing. So where's he to come amongst the prophets? So that's what's being hinted with the idea of the donkey. And again, it's the word of Hashem coming from an unexpected place. I mean, the last thing Shaul is going to expect looking for a donkey is to find the Navi telling him he's going to become a king. Right? And you can also say, once we're going that far, we can also say this may be the beginning of Shaul's mistake. Because Shaul saw from all this, from this donkey and the whole Misa that came out of the donkey, he says, there can be real spirituality, real holiness from very unholy sources. And that could have been one of the reasons why he did not kill Agag when he was meant to kill the Amaleki king. Why didn't he kill Agag? You could say because even Agag was such a rasha, but there could be a certain kedusha in him, and that's why he was reluctant to kill such a person. Why does he kill Shmuel, Agag, everybody else? So he felt there was, and the truth is there was, because we know from Agag came Haman, but from Haman's great grandchildren, what do we know the Gemara says? His great grandchildren Haman were learning Torah in Bnei Brak. So this all came from Agag. So again, pretty unlikely source from Amalek. You should have rabbis learning Torah in Bnei Brak. So that's all the idea of the donkey. So this is, the surprising way of Hashem can come from places that you wouldn't expect it, and this is all what Shaul is going to go through. But I think the message, even is a powerful one. You got to keep your antenna open to hear these kinds of messages. Okay, let's move on to Pasuk Daled. We're going to continue with more aspects of the Hashgacha Pratis that brings together Shaul and Shmuel. Vayavor Bahar Ephraim, and now Shmuel is passing by the area of Mount Ephraim. Vayavor Be'eretz Sholisha, he passes through a place called Eretz Sholisha. V'lo matzo, and he doesn't find the donkeys. Vayavru Be'eretz Sha'alim, he passes through a place called Eretz Sha'alim, Vayin, and also there's no donkeys. Vayavor Be'eretz Yemini, he passes through the land of the Yemini. V'lo matzo, he doesn't find him either. So this becomes the next aspect. You see that Hashem is causing his route to get all crooked and bent out of shape, because all these places were really close places, right? See, usually a donkey is not going to go so far away. They're not that strong, and if they get lost, they're not that smart to go so far away. They're pretty close. But you see, this close places weren't there. He has to go right to Har Ephraim, the Eretz Shalisha, right? So it was a different, and he couldn't find him in different places at all, because in these places, they might have known perhaps if donkeys would have passed by there, but but these guys they didn't know anything about this. Some place said maybe we think we saw donkeys, but we don't know anything. And these guys were going together, and Hashem is just getting him more fablunged, as it were, and because he's got to get to Shmuel Hanavi, and Shmuel Hanavi was not next door to their place. Pasuk Hey, Him above Eretz Tzuf. They come to the land of Tzuf, and Tzuf is the same as we learned in the beginning of the Sefer Shmuel, where Elkanah was from Sofim. Sofim, as Targum explains here and earlier, it's a land where the Navi of Hashem is. Meaning this is the place, Sof means vision, visionary. So it is the land of the visionary. Shaul Amar Lanara Sherimo, and Shaul says to his young lad who's with him, L'cha v'nashuva, go and return. Because our father probably by now, I don't know how long it's been, maybe a day or two, whatever. So our father probably said he'd given up hope on the donkey, and now he's worrying about us that we haven't come back either. So you see the next step of Hashgacha Pratis over here is that Hashem had brought him to meander all the way to Tzuf, where the Navi is. And Hashem put on their heart, as you'll see in a minute, first of all, to go. And you'll see in the next pasuk that the Nar, the young lad, persuades Shaul to say, well, let's go to the Navi. So Rich, you're seeing how like everything was the opposite of what should be. He said, okay, I give up, let's go back. So it's like Hashem is bringing him mamish to the doorstep of the Navi. He doesn't even know he's going to the doorstep of the Navi. And he's saying, let's just go back. He's that close to missing this opportunity. And it's from the servant's mouth, as we'll see in a minute. He says, no, we got to go on. Which again could be another donkey. It's all it just shows that Hashgachas Hashem. If Hashem wants you to be the king, no matter how much you're not interested, and it's the last thing in your mind, and you're doing things even the opposite for it, Hashem's going to make sure that destiny happens. That destiny happens. Pasuk Vav. Vayomer lo. So the servant says to him, Hineinu ish Elokim b'ir hazos. There is a man of God in this city. V'ish nichbad, and he's a very honorable man. Kol asher yidaber bo yavo. Whatever he speaks, right, comes true. Now that's very interesting. The servant knows that Shmuel Hanavi lives here, and Shaul HaMelech doesn't. Shaul, who's a great spiritual person, doesn't. Obviously, he was like clueless. He was just a man just into his spirituality, not even to knowing geography or things like this. I mean, you'd think everybody knew where Shmuel lived, where he came from. So again, it seems that Shaul was just in another zone. Again, it's incredible that the servant knows it to him not. Let's go there. Perhaps he will tell us the way which we should be going. Right? So, all right, we can skip that. Okay, so that's another interesting observation, which we'll see. Unfortunately, we'll talk about in a minute. What are they going to go to the Navi for exactly? What's the servant saying? Let's go to the Navi for what? It doesn't. You think that's the honor of the Navi? Can you imagine if a great tzaddik comes to Toronto? A great tzaddik comes to Toronto, and everybody's going to go see the tzaddik, right? And meanwhile, you lost some donkeys. So everybody's waiting in line, and they're all coming to Rebbe. This one, his parents are dying, and this one, his business is falling apart, and this one, this and that. And when do you come? He said, "Listen, I lost the donkey. Can you tell me where my donkey is?" He figured enough. You just throw the guy out. Chutzpah, you got nothing better on your mind than where your stupid donkey is, right? So I think that's also a very important message over here. I mean, we'll see later. Unfortunately, we'll talk about this. But in the servant's mind, it didn't seem like it was such a chutzpah. And you'll see, that it must be that Shmuel did entertain such people. I guess he called him a man of God. To the man of God, the Ish Elokim, we can ask him where the lost donkeys are. It's reminiscent of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, one of the greatest rabbis who lived in the North America, who passed away over 20 years ago. So they say a story, and people ask him questions from around the world, like the most difficult questions. He trailblazed all the idea of all the science questions, heart transplants, all these issues, where how halacha was able to explain how to deal with these issues. Can you imagine people, great doctors and great rabbis, calling him all the time? And every Erev Shabbos there was a lady, and Rabbi Moshe, the simple Rabbi Moshe, lives in a very small flat somewhere in the Lower East Side of New York, right? So it's an apartment building. So every Erev Shabbos he'd get a call from this almana, this old lady, and she's just I'm a rabbi. There's no rabbi. It says the Rebbe, the Ketzagen Vin is Lichten. Rabbi, can you tell me when candle lighting is this week? Every week she called him up for candle lighting. He couldn't say, "Listen, lady, get a calendar and look it up in the calendar." A great rabbi. He probably just got off the phone deciding if someone should make a major life and death surgery and all these things. And the next call, Mr. Schwartz, please, can you tell me, Rabbi, when we light candles today? Well, beneath his dignity. If you're Nish Elokim, then whatever is bothering another Jew is something that concerns you. So that's what the servant is saying, and you'd figure Shaul's response should be, "What are you talking about?" But no, Shaul seems to go along with the idea. Pasuk Zayin, Vayomer Shaul l'naro. Shaul says to the young lad, says, "V'hinei nelech." Okay, let's go. But now he goes another step. Uman avila ish. What are you going to bring him? Got to bring him a gift. Just don't come to the tzaddik without a gift. Because the bread is finished from our utensils. We've eaten up all our bread. And that's probably why they also were thinking of going back. The provisions were empty. And we don't have a nice present to give to this man of God. We don't have anything to give him. So again, you'd think at this point, he's totally oblivious to Shmuel's greatness, that you have to give him gifts. But it seems, as we'll see shortly, that it seemed to be that Shmuel. Remember, we learned earlier that Shmuel never received gifts. He never took a gift from anybody. But we're going to see in a minute that why he does. And believe it or not, this can be a real good source for why Hasidic Rebbes take pidyonis. When you go to Hasidic Rebbe, right, you want to get a bracha from a Rebbe, you bring him money. You give him money. You think the Rebbe uses it for himself? God forbid. We're going to see the Malbim in a minute. The Malbim was definitely not Hasidic. Definitely not Hasidic. We'll explain the idea of what's the inyan of why the Navi would almost demand a gift from the person who requested the help of the Navi. And people think, oh, the guy's on the take. Again, you have to always know the difference between a reputable Navi and a charlatan, right? But there must be reasons for all this. So we'll take a look over here. But Reb Tzadok says very simply that although he never took any gifts from anybody, as a leader, as a judge, in other words, in the capacity of a judge, he never took any money. But if people had personal, mundane things like this, he would, and we'll see in a minute why. But let's just go back and see that what the Mama says on Pasuk Zayin over here, where he says, so okay, we're going to go, we're going to bring him. So the Malbim says it straight out. He says Shul did not recognize who this Shmuel was, right? And he thought that the guy has to take presents for those who come to him. So that's what he starts off. And he says, so what are we going to bring? What are we going to bring to this guy? He's a big man, right? So in other words, he says, if you're going to a man that's such an important man, and to ask something from him, it's fitting you should pay him for the time he's spending to spend time with you. Time is money, even in those days, I guess. You got to pay the guy for his time. And it would seem that the way, if you came to any important person, if you came to a prince or a dignitary, you brought a gift, right? Because when you go to somebody, you don't come empty-handed, right? So the tsura, the gift, you would only give to important people who, and you want to, they look important people, and not just to anybody, just to ask for something. So therefore, the gift would have to be as valuable as how much valued honor you figure the recipient deserves. In other words, you give honor. If you're going to visit the President of the United States, you don't give him a box of Cracker Jacks. You have to give him something that's very unique and that is on the level of the esteem that the person has. On the other hand, in other words, two aspects. We got to pay him. If we're coming to him, we should pay him for his time, or we have to give him a gift in accordance to the honor of what he has. You can't come empty-handed. He's going to spend some time doing his hisbodedus and thinking about you and the problem and how to help you. So we got to pay him for his time, A, and B. He's an important guy. You got to give him a gift, right? So either we got to pay him for his effort. So and that's how he's saying. What are you going to bring to this man? The bread is already gone from us, right? So because he's a man and there's time he's spending, all right, we don't have to give him such an expensive gift, right? And all the more so, we don't even have any money. And then he says, and also, but now we don't have a present to give to the man of God. Because you see, he's an important man. If he's an important man, we have to give him a gift to show the significance of importance. We have nothing to give this man. That's the two expressions. Once it says you don't have any bread, of course you don't have any a gift either. Right? So they think there's two explanations of why they would have to give him something, and we have nothing to give the guy. Okay, so let's look in Pasuk Ches, and then we'll do the Robad there. So then, Yosef Hanar Lanos as Shol. So the young lad continues to answer Shol. V'yarmi says, I found in my pocket, I realized I have a quarter shekel of silver. Whatever, I don't know, not that expensive, right? Well, we give a machatzis, a shekel, for every year as donations for the korbanos. So he said, I have a reva shekel kesef, quarter of a machatzis shekel. From the Satli Shalakim, we'll give it to the man of God. And he'll tell us our way. So I guess now he's mentioning Ishalokim, right? So he says, you're right. If you want to be before this man, you have to give him a good present. So he says, but what we'll do is that I will go alone to him, and in my hand I got this quarter shekel, and that's enough for his effort. And I'll give it to him for what he'll tell us about our way. In other words, since I'm a nar, he's not going to expect such a big gift. And in other words, if you go, Shul, you're from a very prestigious family. He's going to expect a big gift because you're a big guy too. But if I go, I'm not such a big guy. So that's how we can avoid, even though he's an Ish Elokim, but we'll just ask him to show our way. And that will be like the payoff for the time that he's involved. I just want to do one Ralbag that's important over here. Just give me 1 second. We'll end with that. Ralbag in Pasuk Ches. Somewhere over here. But it's in Pasuk. Supposed to be here. Go to Radak. Okay, you know what? It's already time. Okay, we'll leave that for next week because we got to look into it. But we'll understand the idea of why he had to take the money. It's a very important idea. What's the idea of Hasidic Rebbe's taking money? So this we'll get to next week in Mitzvah.